The sun shone brightly over the earth as the alien general prepared his forces for battle. He stood tall in his shining armor, his red eyes scanning the horizon. His army was massive, with ships that floated silently in the sky and soldiers ready to obey his every command. The general had fought many wars across the galaxy, and he was sure this would be an easy victory. After all, humans were weak compared to his advanced technology and superior training. As the general ordered his troops to move forward, he felt a rush of confidence. They landed near a small city filled with human life. Buildings stretched towards the sky, and people went about their day, completely unaware of the danger approaching them. The general laughed to himself, thinking how simple it would be to conquer this planet. He raised his hand, signaling his troops to prepare for the attack. But the humans had something the general did not expect: determination. As the alien ships descended, the people below saw the shadows growing larger above them. Panic spread through the city as families hurried to find shelter. However, a brave group of soldiers, led by a strong woman named Captain Sarah, gathered together. They knew they had to protect their home. Captain Sarah stood in front of her troops, her voice firm and steady. "We may be outnumbered, but we are not outmatched. We fight for our families, our friends, and our planet. Let's show these aliens what we can do." Her words sparked hope and courage in the hearts of her soldiers. They cheered, ready to defend their home. As the first alien ship landed, a loud crash echoed through the streets. The aliens poured out, armed with powerful weapons and strange technology. The general felt a thrill of excitement. He believed that fear would easily overcome the humans. But instead, he was met with brave hearts. The humans quickly organized themselves, using their knowledge of the city to set up defensive positions. The first shots rang out as the humans fired back. Captain Sarah led the charge, using her quick thinking to outmaneuver the alien forces. "Aim for their weak spots!" she shouted, pointing at the exposed areas of the alien armor. The humans took her advice and began to push back, surprising the aliens with their skill. The general watched in disbelief as his soldiers struggled against the humans. The humans fought with a fierce spirit, dodging blasts and returning fire with determination. They used every tool at their disposal, turning everyday objects into weapons. A group of soldiers used trash cans as shields, while others hurled stones and debris at the aliens. The general shouted orders, trying to regain control of his troops. "Advance! Show them our strength!" But the humans were ready. They had learned from their mistakes and adapted quickly. When the aliens charged, the humans set traps, causing the aliens to stumble and fall. The battlefield became a chaotic mix of noise, flashes of light, and the sound of soldiers shouting. As the battle raged on, the tide began to turn. The general felt his confidence slipping away. "This can't be happening," he muttered to himself. He had never seen such determination in a group of humans. They fought not just for survival, but for each other. The general realized he was not facing a weak enemy. He was battling an unstoppable force. Finally, as the sun began to set, the aliens retreated. The general ordered a retreat, his pride wounded. He could not believe the humans had won the first battle. Captain Sarah and her soldiers cheered as they watched the alien ships lift off the ground, leaving behind their defeated troops. The humans had proven that they were not to be underestimated. With the battle over, Captain Sarah raised her weapon high, shouting, "Today we have shown them our strength. We will fight for our home, and we will not back down." The soldiers cheered, their spirits high, ready to face whatever came next. As the general's ship flew back to their base, he pondered the outcome. The humans were stronger than he had imagined. He would need a new plan to conquer this planet, one that he had never thought possible. The battle was just the beginning, and he was determined to learn from his mistakes. The first battle was over, but the war was far from finished. The general now understood that humans were not just a weak species, they were fierce warriors who would fight for their world, and he knew he would have to prepare for the next encounter carefully. The alien general sat in his dark, high-tech war room, staring at the screens displaying images from the recent battle. His soldiers were battered and bruised, and many ships were damaged. He could not shake the feeling of shame. How could he have underestimated the humans? They were supposed to be weak, but they fought like lions, refusing to back down. The general clenched his fists, anger boiling inside him. "Bring me my officers!" he shouted, his voice echoing off the metal walls. Moments later, his top commanders entered the room looking nervous. They knew the general was furious about the defeat, and no one wanted to face his wrath. "Report!" the general demanded. The officers shifted uneasily, unsure of what to say. Finally, one brave officer, a tall alien with green skin named Commander Vex, stepped forward. "Sir, the humans have shown unexpected strength and determination. They adapt quickly to our tactics and are using their surroundings to their advantage," he explained. The other officers nodded, agreeing with Vex's assessment. The general's eyes narrowed. "I want to know everything about these humans. What are their weaknesses? What makes them tick?" He leaned forward, eager for answers. "Sir, we discovered that they have strong leaders who inspire their soldiers. Captain Sarah, in particular, is a fierce warrior. She rallied her troops with powerful speeches," another officer added. The general's interest piqued. He realized that Captain Sarah was more than just a soldier. She was a symbol of hope for her people. "Then we must break that hope," the general exclaimed. "We cannot allow her to inspire them again. We need to strike fear into their hearts." He began to pace the room, plotting his next move. The officers listened intently as the general continued, "We will launch a surprise attack during the night when they least expect it. This time we will not give them a chance to prepare. We will show them the true power of the Galactic Empire." The officers exchanged worried glances. "But, sir, the humans might still surprise us," Commander Vex cautioned. "We need to learn more about their tactics before we attack again." The general paused, considering Vex's words. "Fine. We will gather more intelligence. I want scouts sent to observe their movements. We must know how they defend themselves and what their weaknesses are." As the officers nodded and left to carry out their orders, the general turned back to the screens. He watched the humans celebrating their victory. They were laughing, cheering, and hugging each other. The image filled him with anger. How could they be so joyful after a battle? They had defeated his army, and yet they seemed unafraid. Meanwhile, Captain Sarah and her soldiers were in a safe bunker, discussing their next steps. "We need to stay alert," she said. "The aliens will not give up easily. They will come back stronger, and we have to be ready." Her troops nodded, their faces serious. They knew that victory could lead to complacency, and they couldn't afford that. "Let's analyze our strategies from the last battle," one soldier suggested. "What worked well and what didn't?" The group gathered around a table, drawing plans and sharing ideas. They discussed their strengths, like their ability to adapt quickly and use the environment to their advantage. They also talked about their weaknesses, recognizing that they were still outnumbered. In the following days, the alien scouts worked hard to gather information about the humans. They observed their training routines and watched how they fortified their defenses. The general was determined to learn everything he could about Captain Sarah and her troops. After several days of spying, the scouts returned with valuable information. "Sir, we have discovered their weak points," one scout reported. "They rely heavily on their leaders for motivation. If we can take down Captain Sarah, it could demoralize the entire human force." The general smiled, his anger replaced with excitement. "Then that is what we shall do. We will plan an attack that targets her directly." He felt a surge of confidence, believing that this time the humans would not stand a chance. As the aliens prepared for their new strategy, the general felt a mix of anger and determination. He had learned from his defeat, and he was ready to face the humans again. This time he would not underestimate them. They may have won the first battle, but he was determined to win the next one. The war was far from over, and both sides were gearing up for the challenges ahead. The general was now more aware of the human's strength, but he was also ready to unleash his full power. The next encounter would be critical, and he intended to make it count. The night sky was dark, and the air was tense as the alien general prepared for his next attack. He had spent days planning, waiting for the right moment to strike. His troops were ready, and they had their sights set on one goal, Captain Sarah. The general believed that if he could take her down, the human soldiers would crumble. As the aliens moved silently through the night, their ships hovered above the ground, cloaked from human sight. The general felt confident. This time, he would not underestimate his enemy. He had learned from his past mistakes and was determined to teach the humans a lesson they would never forget. Meanwhile, Captain Sarah and her troops were on high alert. They had received reports of alien activity in the area, and she knew they needed to be prepared. "Gather, everyone," she called to her soldiers. "We must stay united and ready for whatever comes next. We can't let our guard down," As the humans gathered around her, Captain Sarah shared the plan. "We will set up defenses around the base. Let's use the trees and buildings to our advantage. If the aliens come, we will surprise them just like we did before." The soldiers nodded, their eyes filled with determination. They trusted her leadership and believed they could win again. Suddenly, bright lights pierced the darkness as the alien ships descended. The humans were taken by surprise. "Get to your positions!" Captain Sarah shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. The soldiers moved quickly, grabbing their weapons and taking cover behind trees and buildings. The general watched from his ship, a smug smile on his face. "They are not ready for this," he thought, feeling a surge of excitement. He ordered his troops to attack, and a barrage of bright blasts lit up the night sky. The first wave of alien soldiers charged in, their advanced weapons firing relentlessly. But the humans were prepared. They fought back fiercely, using their knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. They fired from hidden positions, surprising the aliens with their quick and effective responses. As the battle unfolded, the general's confidence began to waver. The humans were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for their families and their home. Captain Sarah inspired her troops with powerful shouts, urging them to hold their ground. "Remember why we fight! We protect each other and our world!" The human soldiers rallied around her words, pushing back against the alien forces with renewed strength. They worked together, forming small teams that moved in unison. Some soldiers threw makeshift explosives, while others shot from a distance, hitting the aliens with precision. "Retreat!" the general yelled, realizing his troops were being outmatched once again. The aliens were not prepared for the humans' tenacity. They began to fall back, their once confident demeanor crumbling under the humans' relentless assault. But Captain Sarah wouldn't let them escape easily. "Don't let them regroup!" she shouted. "We need to keep the pressure on them." The humans surged forward, pushing the aliens deeper into the forest. Their determination was unmatched, and they fought with everything they had. As the battle raged on, the general felt a growing sense of panic. "How can this be happening?" he thought. He had thought humans were weak, but they had proven to be strong and resilient. With every passing moment, it became clear that the humans were an unstoppable force. With their backs against the wall, the aliens attempted a final stand. The general ordered a desperate counterattack, but the humans anticipated their move. They had learned from their previous battles and were now one step ahead. The aliens fired their weapons, but the humans dodged and countered with fierce precision. Captain Sarah led the charge, her bravery inspiring her soldiers to fight harder. "Together we are unstoppable!" she cried, charging forward with her weapon raised high. Finally, with one last push, the human soldiers overwhelmed the remaining alien forces. The general watched in disbelief as his troops fled the battlefield, leaving behind their pride and their weapons. The humans had won yet again, and they stood victorious, cheering for their hard-fought triumph. As the dust settled, Captain Sarah looked at her team, pride swelling in her chest. "We did it! We showed them that we will not be defeated!" The soldiers cheered, their spirits high. They had proven that they could stand against even the strongest of foes. Meanwhile, the general retreated in his ship, deep in thought. He realized that the humans were not just a species to conquer, they were warriors filled with an unbreakable spirit. He knew he had underestimated them, and he would need to change his tactics if he ever hoped to succeed. The battle was not over, but the humans had shown their true strength, and it was a lesson the general would not soon forget. After the intense battle, the humans celebrated their victory. The atmosphere was filled with joy and relief. They had faced the aliens and emerged stronger than ever. Captain Sarah stood among her soldiers, a smile on her face. "This victory is not just mine, it belongs to all of you," she said, raising her weapon high. The soldiers cheered, their spirits lifted by the triumph. But even in their joy, Sarah knew that the war was far from over. The alien general would not give up easily. She gathered her team, knowing they needed to plan for the future. "We cannot let our guard down. The aliens will regroup and come back stronger," she warned. Her team nodded in agreement. They understood the threat was still real. "What should we do next?" one soldier asked, his brow furrowed with concern. "We need to strengthen our defenses and unite with other human groups. If we work together, we can face whatever comes next," Sarah replied. She could see the determination in their eyes, and it filled her with hope. As the days passed, Captain Sarah traveled to nearby towns and cities. She met with leaders and soldiers, sharing news of their victory and the challenges ahead. "We must stand together as one," she urged. "If we unite, we can drive the aliens away from our planet." In every meeting, she felt the energy of hope growing. People were inspired by her words and wanted to join the fight. "I will gather my men and women," said a local leader. "We will help you defend our home." Back at the base, Sarah's soldiers prepared for the next battle. They worked hard, training day and night. They practiced their strategies and improved their skills, knowing they needed to be ready for anything. Meanwhile, the alien general was plotting his revenge. In his dark war room, he paced back and forth, anger burning inside him. "Those humans think they can defeat me," he growled. "I will show them what true power looks like." He was determined to strike again and crush their spirit once and for all. The general sent spies to gather information about the humans' growing alliance. He watched as more and more soldiers joined Captain Sarah's ranks. "They think they are united," he sneered, "but they are only making it easier for us to crush them." Back on the human side, Sarah continued to inspire everyone around her. She organized meetings to keep morale high. "Together, we can achieve anything," she declared, her voice strong and clear. "Let's share our resources and knowledge. We must be ready." Her words resonated with the soldiers. They shared their stories, skills, and supplies. As the human alliance grew, so did their determination. They began to feel invincible, and they knew they could face the alien general and his forces. As the days turned into weeks, the humans prepared for a massive battle. They gathered weapons, food, and medical supplies. Everyone worked hard, and the bond between the groups became stronger. They were no longer just individuals fighting for survival. They were a united force. Finally, the day of the battle arrived. Captain Sarah stood before her united army, looking out at the determined faces. "Today, we fight not just for ourselves, but for our families, our homes, and our future," she shouted, raising her weapon. The soldiers roared with enthusiasm, ready to take on the enemy. As they marched towards the battlefield, Sarah felt a surge of confidence. They were no longer the same humans who had faced the aliens before. They were a united front, ready to show the general what they were capable of. Meanwhile, the alien general watched from his ship as the humans approached. He felt a sense of dread. "They have become stronger," he muttered, "but I will not back down. I will crush them once and for all!" The two forces met in a clearing, and the air crackled with tension. The humans stood strong, united as one. Captain Sarah raised her weapon high and shouted, "Together, we are unstoppable! Let's show them our strength!" With a fierce battle cry, the humans charged forward, ready to face the aliens. The general, filled with anger, ordered his troops to attack. The clash of weapons echoed through the air, signaling the beginning of an epic confrontation. As the battle raged on, the humans fought with everything they had. They worked together seamlessly, their unity making them stronger. The alien general watched in disbelief as his forces struggled against the power of the united humans. He had underestimated their determination, and now he would pay the price. In that moment, the humans proved that united, they were a force to be reckoned with. The battle had begun, and the outcome was still uncertain. But one thing was clear. They would fight with everything they had for their freedom and their home. The battlefield was chaotic, filled with the sounds of clashing metal and booming explosions. Captain Sarah stood at the forefront, her heart racing as she faced the alien general and his forces. The air was thick with tension, but her spirit was unbreakable. Today was the day they would decide the fate of their world. "Remember why we fight!" she shouted to her soldiers, raising her weapon high. "This is our home, and we will defend it!" Her words ignited a fire in the hearts of her troops. They cheered, ready to follow her into battle.